Alright, moving on to few more things about Python functions. We've covered till return values. So next one that we will be discussing about is about something called default parameters. I'll type it here. Right, so I'll be using params as the shortcut, right? And now, so this default params is nothing but I'll tell you the use of this default params as well. So for example, so we have this hello world, right? So let's copy this. Okay, now okay, so we have this hello, and whenever we do a hello of any name, we get that name, right? So if I put David and then it gives you David. Like for example, if I don't give David and if I try to run it, it does not run because it is saying it requires one positional argument name. So we haven't passed anything. So you can actually bypass this by saying, so instead of this name, you can say name, like for example, copy it and now give name is equals to, let's say I put something called guest. Okay, so this is my default parameter. Okay, so above one you can comment this. So let's say we comment these two lines. So name, and then what we did is we tried to put a guest, so which is a default parameter, and now run this. Now if you try to run, it says hello guest. Automatically the guest is taken. But if you actually put hello with a name, like for example, let's say you put Raju, right? So it gives you Raju, right? So if you don't pass anything, then it gives you guest. If you pass anything, it gives you that name which you are passing. So that is the advantage of this default parameter. So most likely it is used to avoid errors, default settings. Okay, so just like you have your default settings on your mobile phone, on your browsers, default browser, so this is also a default parameter, right? So if nothing is given, use this. Okay, so this is one. Then we already covered about multiple parameters, right? So these are actually called keywords, right? So if you do, so I'll just note it down. So the convention for you. So this is called keywords. Okay, so number 6. Okay, just add a text. Keyword arguments. Okay, I think I missed to keep double here. Yes, so this x comma y, right? So these are like I've passed 2 instead of 1. I've passed 2. So these are called keyword arguments. So even here you can pass defaults, like for example, x equals to 10 and y equals to 10. Now you run this. Now for example, add numbers. Add numbers. And once you run this, you automatically get default value. You can see, so keyword arguments, so these are nothing but the ones inside the function. So these are called keyword arguments. Okay, so that is about this keyword. And before we wrap up about functions, I just want to cover one very confusing aspect, which is actually called scope. Okay, so this is called scope and global variables. Okay, so practically this is a very useful one. So a lot of people actually get confused, and there are many interview questions around this topic as well, right? So just pay attention for this. Okay, for example, let's say I have a simple function, right? So let's call the function name as test function. Okay, and now I'm trying to print, let's say x. Okay, I don't know what is x, right? And I'll try to run this. Okay, now just call this function. So when we call it, it gives you an error, name x is not defined. Okay, so yes, let's try to put because x is not defined, we didn't pass anything inside the function, correct? So let's pass x inside the function so that it can access that. Okay, I don't know what x is. Okay, so test. Now it says missing one required positional argument x, so I have to pass something. So instead of passing something, let's say I put a default value of 10. Okay, now run this. Okay, you got 10. Okay, so this is the default value. If I modify test to 11, so it actually takes 11. Okay, now how can you actually access things outside of this function? So other way of writing this is, let us name x is equals to 100. Okay, now you write your function define test, and so let's not give anything. And now if you put print x, what does it say? And try to call this function here itself in the same cell, try to call it, it will. Okay, so here what it does is, so you can see this is able to access variables outside this function. So these functions are called global variables, which are defined outside the function. So these variables, so these are called global variables, which are defined outside the function. Okay, so these are called global variables, right? So other way to access them is, you can also say global x and then print enter. You can actually run this. Okay, so that these are called global variables. They are accessible outside the functions, right? So x is equals to 100, and this test global x, even if you pass something, for example, let's say instead of this x, let us pass x, and now what we say is, let us also say x of 10, test of 10. Now let us try to run this. So you can see, okay, you can see there's a mistake here. So it can't be parameter and it can't be a global, right? So you have to say something else. So let's say we pass the parameter y, and let's print x comma y. Okay, and you can see, so what is our x? X is nothing but our global x, which is 100. What is our y? The one that we are passing inside this test function. Okay, so this is how you can access these variables inside this. Okay, and I'll tell you one tricky question, right? So see if you can answer this question. Okay, so let's say I give you some n is equals to 23. Okay, now I write a function define test of m, and what I say is m is, so let me keep it n. Okay, now I'll put n is equals to 21. Now if I print n, right, now I want you guys to guess. Okay, if I do test of 19, what will be the output of this program? Okay, I'm repeating the question again. Okay, so I have n is equals to 23 as my global variable. I have test of n as a function where I'm defining n is equals to 21, print of n. So what will be the output, right? So I want you guys to guess the answer. Okay, so if you have guessed the answer as 21, well done. So that is the right answer. Let us run this, and you see the answer is 21. So it does not matter what number you have inside, the answer will always be 21, because inside the function you are modifying it to 21. So keep this in mind. So this is all about the scope and global variables inside the functions. And one last thing before we close, just a small topic, which is about a function inside another function. So these are called nested functions. So I'll put here, so number 8, which is nested functions, right? So nested function, a function inside a function, right? So that is what a function is. So for example, we define hello as a default function, print hello and if we are passing a name, let us use our f string here and give a name. So this is our main function, right? So hello is our function. Now define something called like, let's say city. Okay, city, like a favorite city. Okay, so favorite city, and this favorite city, what does it actually ask is two things. Okay, it asks city name. Okay, and then what it asks is the name of the person as well. Okay, now okay, so what you say is you have the favorite city of a person and you have the name of the person as well. Okay, so now what you say is let's say I'm David, so I've come to Mumbai. Okay, so hello David should be the first line and second line should be welcome to Mumbai. Okay, so these are the two lines. Now we already have hello, right? We can access this using hello, and inside this you can just pass the name. Okay, that will print it, and then you can also add print f of welcome to, and then put your city name and an exclamatory mark. Okay, so we have our first function, we have used that function inside another function. Now for example, let's say I put favorite city Mumbai and my name. Okay, so I'll just run it. So you see hello David, welcome to Mumbai, right? So you have these are called nested functions. You have a couple of functions. We are using this hello name function inside our favorite city function. So that's all for this module. See you in the next one.